Numerous Republicans have come out saying that no one should criticize the family of a Gold Star winner. Speaker Paul Ryan, Mitch McConnell issued a statement, but none of them condemned Donald Trump. Now, his vice presidential running mate, Indiana Governor Mike Pence, also released a statement saying that they should have respect for the Khan family. But in the same statement, he reiterated the need for a ban of Muslims coming into the country. Let's go to our panel. Michael Singleton, Republican consultant, Lauren Victoria Burke, political analyst, writer at NBC Black, Spencer Overton, president of the Joint Center for Political and Economic Studies. Folks, what the hell?
You know, when I walked in this morning at 6:30, I ran into the Khans. They were here doing another interview. And the reason they're here is because Donald Trump has turned them into media stars with his mouth. All he had to do was let it go. Yeah, just let it go, no comment. And instead what has happened is we've got this back and forth because Donald Trump has zero self-control, zero. He could have, this would have been over. This was a one media cycle story and nobody would have been talking about this if it wasn't for him. It's amazing. I mean, it's absolutely amazing.
Sure, Michael, are you embarrassed by your party's candidate? Because to attack this family and then to say, their son paid the ultimate sacrifice, and he says, oh, I built buildings.
Well, no, I think, Roland, it shows people, and again, as the country becomes more and more diverse, Republican Party, and we talk about this all the time, they're going to have to deal with that reality. And when you have someone like Donald Trump, who is the nominee of the party, making, once again, incendiary remarks, and you have people like Speaker Ryan and Leader McConnell who are coming out against this, but in my opinion, I don't think they're doing enough. They need to say this is not representative of our party. We do not believe in this.
They should criticize Trump directly.
They should, and they're not. And I think it's only going to hurt the Republican Party in the long run.
Spencer, also, same interview with George Stephanopoulos on ABC this week. Donald Trump lied repeatedly. First of all, he said that he had no knowledge of his camp pulling language out of the Republican Party platform that softened when it came to Russia and Ukraine. That's a lie. He also said he had no relationship with Vladimir Putin, even though for 3 years he's given numerous interviews saying he has had a relationship with Vladimir Putin. Then he lies again in the same interview saying he received a letter from the NFL complaining about two of the presidential debates being scheduled on the same night that they have NFL games. NFL comes out saying that's not true. No letter was sent. This is a guy who lied repeatedly in one interview.
Right. And there's this narrative about Hillary Clinton and credibility. I think that there's this other narrative in terms of Donald Trump in terms of credibility.
Habitual liar.
Yeah.
Well, no, I think Spencer's right. And
the problem is that also when he lies like this, he catches your leadership in this whole vortex of having to explain him.
Right.
So now all of a sudden, you know, and now it's not enough because they've done it so many times. It's not enough just to say that you repudiate what the latest lie was. Now you're being called on to repudiate your nominee. And they can't, you know, obviously they can't do that. They've already bought into this fiasco.
Sure, Mike,
so now you can't back up.
The guy said in 2013, 2014, 2015 that he had a relationship with Vladimir Putin, that he's met with him, he's talked with him. Then he tells Stephanopoulos, oh, we walk into the room, I wouldn't know who he is because all I would know is from a photo of him. Dude.
And now we have side-by-side video of him
lying.
That's
a flat-out lie.
Look, Roland, I'm not going to sit here and try to explain Donald Trump.
Are you embarrassed by the Republican presidential nominee?
I wish we had someone else.
Are you embarrassed by the lying of Donald Trump? He lied about a letter from the NFL.
Look, I think it is an embarrassment to the party. And as Spencer pointed out, you have this credibility issue with Hillary Clinton. And I think as we go on, you're going to begin to look at previous statements Trump has made.
I'm asking you a question about lying Donald Trump.
I know what you're asking.
You lied about Russia. You lied about the Khans. You lied about the NFL all in one interview?
Well, funny thing,
look,
she lied.
Again, I'm not defending his lies. I'm not defending his antics. I think I would have preferred for us to have a different nominee. For whatever reason, he's the person that people in my party unfortunately voted for. And that's a reality that we're going to have to deal with. As far as I'm concerned, I don't support him. I did not support his candidacy, and I don't think it's good for the growth of the party.
Yeah. So, Michael, there's this battle going on in your party that is related to culture, it's related to race, for the good of all of us. And folks of color, you know, we hope that certain voices win. How is that battle going to kind of play itself out here?
You know, it's interesting you asked that. I had a conversation a week ago with someone who's a higher up consultant in the party. She's really, really well known, and her and I were talking about Trump. And at the end of the conversation, we pretty much came to the conclusion, and she said, you know, Shermichael, I think we're going to see a split in our party. You're going to see the extreme factions with Trump, and you're going to see more methodical, moderate elements like us break off. What does that look like? I have no clue.
Tea Party. It looks like 2010.
All I'm saying is here, when you lie and we got it on tape, you can't wiggle out of that one.
No, you're right.
A little hard. Folks, Reverend William Barber heads the North Carolina NAACP conference. He spoke at the Democratic National Convention not as a leader of the NAACP, but as an individual. Gave a fiery speech. Last week we played an excerpt of the speech. Many of you may have heard about it, seen small bits of it, but it was so powerful, I felt we should play all of it right here. News 1 now on TV 1. Here we go.
Please welcome the Reverend Dr. William Barber II.
Good evening, my brothers and sisters. I come before you tonight as a preacher, the son of a preacher immersed in the movement at 5 years old. I don't come tonight representing any organization, but I come to talk about faith and morality. I'm a preacher, and I'm a theologically conservative, liberal, evangelical biblicist. I know it may sound strange, but I'm a conservative because I work to conserve a divine tradition that teaches us to do justice, love mercy, and walk humbly with our God. I've had the privilege of traveling the country with the Reverend Dr. James Forbes and Reverend Dr. Tracy Blackman and Sister Simone Campbell as we are working together in the revival and calling for a moral revolution of values. And as we travel the country and we see some things, that's why I'm so concerned about those that say so much about what God says so little, while saying so little about what God says so much. And so, in my heart, I'm troubled, and I'm worried by the way faith is cynically used by some to serve hate, fear, racism, and greed. We need to heed the voice of the scriptures. We need to listen to the ancient chorus in which deep calls unto deep. The prophet Isaiah cries out, "What I'm interested in seeing you doing, says the Lord, as a nation is, pay people what they deserve. Share your food with the hungry. Do this, and then your nation shall be called a repairer of the breach." Jesus, a brown-skinned Palestinian Jew, called us to preach good news to the poor, the broken, and the bruised, and all those who were made to feel unaccepted. Our Constitution calls us to commit our government to establish justice, to promote the general welfare, to provide for the common defense, and to ensure domestic tranquility. Now, to be true, we have never lived this vision perfectly, but this ought to be the goal at the heart of our democracy. And when religion is used to camouflage meanness, we know that we have a heart problem in America. There have always been forces that wanted to harden, even stop the heart of our democracy. But there have also always been people who stood together to stir what Sister Dorothy Day called a revolution of the heart and what Dr. King called a radical revolution of values. I say to you tonight that some issues are not left versus right or liberal versus conservative. They are right versus wrong. We need to embrace our deepest moral values and push for a revival of the heart of our democracy. When we fight to reinstate the power of the Voting Rights Act, and we break the interposition and nullification of the current Congress, we in the South especially know that when we do that, we are reviving the heart of our democracy. When we fight for 15 and a union, and universal health care, and public education, and immigrant rights, and LGBTQ rights, we are reviving the heart of our democracy. When we develop tax and trade policies that no longer funnel our prosperity to the wealthy few, we are reviving the heart of our democracy. When we hear the legitimate discontent of Black Lives Matter, and we come together to renew justice in our criminal justice system, we are embracing our deepest moral values and reviving the heart of our democracy. When we love the Jewish child and the Palestinian child, the Muslim and the Christian and the Hindu and the Buddhist and those who have no faith, but they love this nation, we are reviving the heart of our democracy. When we fight for peace, and when we resist the proliferation of military-style weapons on our streets, and when we stand against the anti-democratic stronghold of the NRA, we are reviving the heart of our democracy. In times like these, we have to make some decisions. And I might not normally be here as a preacher and an individual, but when I hear Hillary's voices and positions, I hear and I know that she is working to embrace our deepest moral values, and we should embrace her. But let me be clear. Let me be clear that she nor any person can do it alone. The watchword of this democracy and the watchword of faith is we. The heart of our democracy is on the line this November and beyond. Now, my friends, they tell me that when the heart is in danger, somebody has to call an emergency code. And somebody with a good heart will bring a defibrillator to work on a bad heart. Because it's possible to shock a bad heart and revive the pulse. In this season, when some want to harden and stop the heart of our democracy, we are being called, like our foremothers and fathers, to be the moral defibrillators of our time. We must shock this nation with the power of love. We must shock this nation with the power of mercy. We must shock this nation and fight for justice for all. We can't give up on the heart of our democracy, not now, not ever. And so I stopped by here tonight to ask, is there a heart in this house? Is there a heart in America? Is there somebody that has a heart for the poor and a heart for the vulnerable? Then stand up, vote together, organize together, fight for the heart of this nation. And while you're fighting, sing that old hymn, revive us again, fill each heart with thy love. May each soul be rekindled with fire from above. Hallelujah. Thine the glory.
Spencer, your thoughts?
I'm just blown away here. I mean, that is America right there. That's America.
Lauren?
Oh, it was amazing when it happened. It's amazing listening to it now. It's probably one of the best speeches. Certainly beat Scott Baio.
That ain't hard. That ain't hard. Sure, Michael, I'm sure you wish you wish he had spoken at Joe Convention.
You know, I think the Democrats did a decent job of having some good speakers.
Sure, Michael, that wasn't decent.
It was a good speech. I will give him that. As someone who's written speeches for high-profile people before, it was a very well-written speech. I will give him that.
I don't think he wrote anything, did he? Wasn't he doing it off the cuff? Because I never saw him
think
actually
that was
look down.
extemporaneous?
Yeah.
That was all extemporaneous, and that's amazing.
I never saw
Brother,
him actually look
that's called a preacher.
down.
Where we come from, that's called a preacher, sure, Michael. Also, Reverend Barber is going to be there advancing this whole issue of again, these Moral Mondays. So they're going to be in Boston tonight, 6:30 p.m. They'll be live streaming it, and so I want you to follow news1.com and also follow my social media. We'll blast it out as well. So you see the event tonight. They're traveling all around the country, again, focused on registering folks to vote. As you said, it's not left or right, Democrat or Republicans, what's right and wrong, and that's what matters the most. We'll be back 60 seconds right here on News 1 9 TV 1.